New Buddhaware Dhamma Talks. Geoff Hunt presents a talk on some aspect of the Buddha's teaching.
Flourishing, what do we mean to say that someone is flourishing, or I would like to flourish, or maybe that I am flourishing? In the usual worldly sense, it would mean that I'm somehow gaining more, whether wealth or power or fame. That would be flourishing, I think, in the ordinary understanding of things. For the Buddha and many other similar teachers, that is worldly flourishing, and it certainly has its dangers, and it's also a very limited view of life. And for those teachers, flourishing more fundamentally, or more importantly, is flourishing in one's understanding, in one's wisdom, in one's understanding of oneself, and therefore understanding of others, developing compassion and peacefulness of mind, and ultimately kind of what you might call existential flourishing, that is a shifted perspective on our reality, which sounds rather grand, but I don't know how else to express it. So flourishing in this sense, I suppose, is simply following the Noble Eightfold Path, in particular learning to be mindful in the sense of being able to look into oneself with all seriousness and honesty as to what one finds there. And first of all, in terms of one's states of mind, but also one's beliefs, and most difficult of all, one's habits and one's assumptions. Habits of mind I'm talking about here, one's assumptions about the nature of self, the nature of mind, the nature of reality. So flourishing is, if you like, in short, deepening one's wisdom and one's compassion. And the best way to flourish, perhaps the only way to flourish in this sense, is in the moment, to flourish from where you are, not from where you want to be, not from where you think you'll be, not from where you plan to be, not from where you were, not from where you expect to be, not from where your fantasies would lead you, not from an image of yourself given by your past or given by others, but from where you actually are right now. This approach opens up a kind of different dimension on life, which one can only really express in terms of metaphors or parables. If one were sitting on a bus or a train, going somewhere, obviously, with a ticket which has your chosen destination on it, and you assume you will get there, and you're sitting on the train with expectations about arriving at certain stations at certain times and arriving at a certain destination. All of this, of course, as you sit there, is what is in your head. What is rushing by outside the window is very fleeting. You can't grasp it very, very easily, if at all. It doesn't really seem to have, well, you know it's real, as opposed to being a cinema screen, but on the other hand, it's not as though you could grab anything. It's all flying by, but we take that to have only any importance because it's on the way. It's on the way to where I'm going, where I want to go. So we don't attach that much importance, if you like, to what's flying by outside the window. It's not of any importance to us except that it is on the way. That's a fundamental error, right? What is on the way is what is of importance in the moment, right? And where you're going is what exists only in your expectations and your plans and your fantasies. So pay attention to what is flying by very quickly outside the window in this very moment, because you might miss it. You might miss the very things that would help your flourishing. But we are sitting there with a ticket going somewhere. It's a funny thought, isn't it? What if the ticket weren't real? What if the train weren't going anywhere? You just woke up on this train. You don't remember getting on the train, but you wake up on the train and it's moving along and you think, right, I'm going somewhere. And that goes along for a while. You don't pay attention to what's going on outside the window. And then you fall asleep on the train again, and that's it. Is that a scary thought? Mm-hmm. What if life is actually rather like that? If life is rather like that, and we acknowledge that, wouldn't that bring about a change in our perspective and our priorities, our understanding of what worth our life has, what direction, if any, our life has, how to live your life, how to understand your life? All of that would change, and you only then could you flourish, really flourish, because you're in the moment, because the moment is the only place you can flourish. You know, these days, it seems, through advertising and screens of every size, from television sets that are 3 foot across to tiny little mobile phone screens, we're living in a virtual reality in which we don't really pay any attention any longer us in the moment. And those screens of every size, multiplying as they are, they create perhaps a fantasy world. They consolidate a fantasy world which we've been slipping into for decades. So then it becomes very hard actually to re-engage ourselves with the moment and the possibility of true flourishing. If I do start paying attention to the moment, and I do so in the right spirit, persistently, and learn how to do that, it's like learning to really pay attention to what's flying by in the window of the train before I fall asleep again. And then outside there might be all sorts of things which would stimulate me, engender some creativity, some curiosity. Now, all of those things are endangered by the way we live at the moment. You know, curiosity is endangered, creativity is endangered. We've all become very passive, watching our screens and not living in the moment and responding with sensitivity to, e.g., the sound of the rain on the roof at this very moment. You know, that's something in the train window that's flying by, and they'll be gone in a while, I suppose. So, flourishing, what does this word flourishing really mean? I would connect it with sensitivity and creativity. It's the opposite to just having passive expectations.
New Buddha Way lets go of East and West and starts afresh in the life we have now. For more information, visit www.newbuddhaway.org.